Good morning, everybody. Ed Carbajal here for MMANews.com. Coming to you on Sunday, the day after UFC 262. Here to do just to talk about some 7 takeaways from UFC 262. It's a piece I did over at MMANews.com. So make sure you check out MMANews.com for all the full results in UFC 262 coverage, as well as other things going on in mixed martial arts. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell notification for the MMANews.com YouTube channel so you can get the content like this and all the other interviews, fighter interviews that we push up there done by the great James Lynch. If you haven't checked those out lately, we had a few fighters from last night's event, UFC 262. Caitlin Chukagian is on there. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Edson Barbosa picked up a great win last night against Shane Burgos. And we have a post-fight interview with Gregor Gillespie. He talks about fighting and fishing and stuff like that, which I'm working on transcribing, James. So that'll be up on the website soon. But if you want to check out the full interview, no context, up at MMANews.com's YouTube channel. Of course, as you know, I'm streaming this on my own Twitter. That's my Twitter handle, @Carbazel. Make sure you give me a follow too, so you can see all the stuff I do in the whole MMA fight sphere and what have you. So let's get right down to business. UFC 262. I don't know about you guys, but I have the opinion. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks do too, or agree with me, or at least in agreement with me, that the in mixed martial arts, not just the UFC, but the 155-pound division is never boring. It's always entertaining. It always seems to draw in fans, especially like I feel like the hardcore fans are always drawn to 155 with or without Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Like throughout the 27, 28 years or whatever this sports sort of has been around, because when people will argue the regulation and the sport didn't exist without regulation, whatever. The lightweight division has always been the most entertaining and most popular to me. So when you look at the scope of what's happened there, especially with the exit and the retirement of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Michael Chandler, who's been one of my favorite lightweights for almost as long as he's been fighting, so I'm a big Bellator fan. To see him get there and compete in the UFC's top elite lightweights, that's something that I think is just, first of all, there's a time when you thought you wouldn't see it, and the fact that we got to see it last night was just amazing. So let's get into the event, right? So full results, of course, are up at MMANews.com. This is so I write this as if you haven't seen me do one of these before, I usually write this up during fight week, starting around Tuesday, Wednesday, things that jump out to take away from the event as a whole, because especially for these big pay-per-views, because fight week, they call it fight week for a reason. There's things that'll happen, people, missing weight or a lot of stuff like that. So so the funny thing is, it's not funny, it's a little disturbing, not disturbing, sad, I should say, because I'm a big fan of Tony Ferguson. A lot of folks are. He always makes fight week fun with the sunglasses and his trash talk is it's intense, unique, entertaining, whatever you want to call it. And win or lose, dude always backs it up, in my opinion. Especially when you look at the submissions. If you look at his loss, especially his loss to Oliveira, and then last night the loss to Dariush, those submissions that he was caught in. I know ESPN MMA just recently put up the photo where his arm was hyperextended against Oliveira. And then, he's 37, right? 35, 37? Oh, Michael Chandler's 35. He's 37. When I was in my 30s, I was already concerned with getting caught in leg locks. And as Joe Rogan always points out during the commentary, usually when you feel the pain of joint manipulation with the lower limbs, it's most of the time it's too late, because something has already been torn or damaged or what have you. So when Dariush put that heel hook on him and he no tapped from it, and walked around and kept fighting the rest of the fight, that's I mean, the dude's definitely going down in history as one of the greatest. But one of the things he did outside of fighting was Thursday during the post-fight press conference. First takeaway was that the fight night bonuses got increased to $75,000 because everything is bigger in Texas, right? So even in the post-fight interview, when asked about it, Dana White just flat out, they were like, why did you what was the catalyst that made you do that? And he just flat out said Tony and Dana White privilege. You know, people say a lot about Conor McGregor and how he's kind of elevated the sport and, you know, fighter purses in mixed martial arts, even though, you know, comparatively to boxing, there's still a lot of work to be done there. But, you know, this is one that you got to give Tony Ferguson the hat tip, and for all the great fights, even last night's fight. I mean, because there was moments there where he was going for stuff off of his back, but I mean, it's funny. There was a weird theme last night that I mentioned twice in the 7 takeaways piece I'm going over, and I just feel like it's one of these things that the sad part of combat sports, never mind this mixed martial arts, you know, because when you look at other sports like stick and ball sports and, you know, other stuff, outside of football, maybe because football and hockey, because there's a level of folks trying to hurt one another in it. It's sad to see it happen in combat sports because, I mean, what is it other than controlled violence? So to see it gets to a point that you're like, you know, I mean, again, age is relative to what you're doing, but combat sports is a young man's game. So when you look at guys in their late 30s, 40s, you know, that's an old, and I mean, as I'm in that category, an old man catching, you know, beat downs on TV. You can only maintain, you know, top level demand athleticism in the sport for so long. But anyway, when the fights got started, this is what I want to do. I'm actually, for another outlet, I'm working on a piece about the submissions of this event, because this event, a lot of finishes. You know, I'm a fan of finishes, but there was a lot of finishes in the event that let me count them off. Full results again up at MMANews.com. But we had, I mean, never mind the KOs. Well, we'll count them. The KOs: 1, 2 submission. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 submissions. 7 submissions on this fight card. And, you know, I'm a big fan of finishers. So Christos Gallegos submitted Sean Soriano in a Bravo choke or a Darce choke, whatever you want to call it. Let's play this so you can check it out, because there's it's off of a scramble and they're kind of standing. And the cool thing that Gallegos did, first of all, Sean Soriano, what was it, May 6th? He got short notice pulled in for this fight, and damn near finished Gallegos in the first round. Not for nothing. If that's what you do on short notice, then whatever your history was before that, to have you go away and come back to UFC, you made the proper corrections. You damn near won the fight. I hope the UFC keeps him around and gives him a full camp, because, I mean, his hands, I mean, he damn near knocked out Gallegos. I don't know if Gallegos was taking him lightly, because a lot of, when I submitted my picks for the overall card, I picked Gallegos to win simply because of that. Like, knowing about Soriano and things like that, it's just, you always, especially we talked about fighting at the top levels in the sport and things like that. It's like, okay, with only so much time to prepare for a card of this caliber, because, you know, the pay-per-views events are the ones it's the only ones that Dana White is trying to have fans at for now. You know, you wonder how prepared they're going to be. I mean, are they just going to, because they want to fight and be back in the good graces of the UFC and collect a paycheck? You know, that it's questionable how well they're going to do. I didn't think Soriano was going to do this well. I'm sure he's upset about the loss and getting caught in this submission, but this submission right here, I know I rambled a bit about it, but this submission right here is one to behold just because of the way it was set up. So let's play this, put the mute on so So look at how they're standing, and it's almost like he was in a turtle. So this is easy enough to get, but guys can get out of the when you lock up the head and arm like that. However, to make the submission stick, you have to fold them into themselves to make it hard for them to breathe, to add to the suffocation. So look at how he snatches up the leg that he's kind of tripoding Soriano. So he gets the off of the scramble, he gets the setup for the darts, but then he hooks the leg and lets them roll back around so that he can fold them into himself. And that's what made the choke that tight. Super tight, because look at how fast he goes out from when they roll over. And again, when you're compressing into yours, to see his mouthpiece come out, and you can see he went for the tap, but it was out. Clean blood choke. Nice submission win for Gallegos. I mean, he called out Cowboy after this win, which is kind of like, I mean, they got to give Cowboy, like, the Diego Sanchez fight would have been great for Cowboy. It's too bad that whole situation happened with Sanchez, but this is a beautiful submission. Again, there was a few submissions last night. One of the other ones is on here. This is Jordan Wright's quick KO over Pickett. So this is the brutal one that again, when you talk about, and I hint to it in this takeaway, and then I talk about it again later, because Dana White even literally said the quote about, time being undefeated and things like that when asked about Tony Ferguson, and we just talked about Tony Ferguson, so maybe I'll skip over that in a bit. But Andre Muniz, so he was coming in spicy at Jacare Souza about his grappling prowess. I mean, throughout his entire time in mixed martial arts, Souza has absolutely been one of the most feared grapplers in the weight classes he's competed in. He came out of the jiu-jitsu circuit. The funny thing is, I mean, you notice his arm broke, right? His arm broke. I'm going to play it for you. There is a sound, but I'm muting the sound because I don't want to get copyright strikes or whatever on the YouTube thing when they upload this. So that's why I'm muting the sound. But if you watch it, you can find this go to this article. You can click this. You'll hear the snap from Jacare's arm break. I mean, for those of you that don't know about Jacare and where he came from, that's actually, his arm was broken in competition against Roger Gracie. I forget, was it maybe 2000? Is it 2003? I'd have to look it up. But his left arm was broken against Roger Gracie in a jiu-jitsu match, and he competed and actually I believe he won on points. So, I mean, you'll notice if you rewatch the whole thing, you'll notice that so, the arm break happens, he taps or whatever. I mean, the fight gets stopped because the referee, you can see his muscles twitch and everything. If you watch it over and over again, they played it so much last night. There's a chance you saw all the nasty details of this submission. But the thing about this submission is, or Jacare, is that, again, knowing the pain, being familiar with his arm being broken, he seemed to handle it almost like when Renzo Gracie got his arm popped the other way when he fought Sakuraba way back in the day and over at Pride Fighting Championships. So, I mean, he acted like it wasn't no thing, but it's a thing. And what sucks is because he's coming at the tail end of his career. And there was points in this fight that because he was on top earlier in the where they fought and he got Muniz to the ground. And there was a point where it's like almost like I don't know if he got hurt from something previously but he was on top on the ground, and it looked like he was getting the best of Muniz, and he kind of just backed off of him, and then they got into this situation here. So let's play this. This is hard to watch, so forgive my cringe. So this is them when they're getting up off of the scramble that Jacare started. He's falling off the back, and there's a detail if you watch on the watch Jacare's right hand. It's under the armpit of Muniz right there. the glove is behind his. You saw the snap right there. The glove is behind Muniz's lat and shoulder blade. So people talk about sweat in MMA. This is the first round, so they're still relatively dry. But one of the things way back in the day when I used to watch, and I was just a beginner grappler myself, early 2000s. I used to wonder why are you wearing gloves for grappling if you're not hitting each other, because I was a stupid kid back then wondering that. But now you can see. So if you remember way back to UFC 1 with Hoist Gracie and Art Jimerson, and he gets Jimerson in an armbar, but he armbars the glove that he wore the one boxing glove in. So this is just another thing of training and grappling for the situations you're going to be in. These guys are half naked, but the glove at the end of the hand, it adds an extra. Even when they're sweaty, it's going to be hard to manipulate your limb out of a submission when you cinch it up towards the wrist and the glove. It actually adds to the wrist control to the person going for a submission. You saw it in this fight, and you saw it in the. It's not on my takeaways, which I didn't want to make it a submission list, but I mean you could have with this event. Something I'm doing for another outlet, by the way. But this particular submission here, if you watch when he falls, and most of the guys you can shake off when you're tripoded up like that, which Jacare I probably thought he was doing. But I mean, when your arm is compromised like that, I hope Muniz wasn't being, because he was talking trash about being a better grappler. Oh, just watching the point of break. One more time, when you watch the end here, I'm gonna move my mouse so you could see. Watch right here towards the armpit. See, that's the watch the way when the pop happens, you can see the wrist. You can see the wrist jump. Watch right here, break right there. That's when the break happens. It's rough to watch, especially as somebody that does jiu-jitsu. I would have tapped as soon as the arm was straightened out, but I'm not a competitive fighter. I'm an old man. I'm an old soft man. So. I mean, shout out to Muniz for submitting the guy that I think the odds of him getting the submission. Shout out to Jersey Boys MMA podcast for shooting me the odds after the fact, plus 740 or something like that. It was almost plus 1200 earlier in the week. And he, it was something. I didn't think that was going to happen. When you hear Jacare in MMA, you usually think the submission is going to come from Jacare to whoever he's fighting. That didn't happen here, and this is a second loss in a row. So we're going back to the whole thing with getting to old young man's game, fighting in the sport and stuff like that. So sucks to see a guy that you look up to, like I really like Jacare. As a fan, I was a hardcore fan. I picked him to win by submission, and the complete opposite happens. So, definitely. I said this. I mean, I called that segment "Young Eating the Old," and that's definitely what happens in combat sports, especially in MMA. And then we know with Edson Barbosa picked up that crazy knockout over Shane Burgos, who fights out of here in the Northeast. Apparently he was all right. They asked Dana White at the post-fight press conference about they're doing testing to make sure, because of the odd knockout that eventually happened in that fight. Although I mean you got to give Burgos credit where credit is due, because even Barbosa was, after the fight, was like, he was tough. I mean, usually Barbosa, when he's throwing leg kicks at somebody, that's usually chopping them away. He checked a few, took more than he checked, but Barbosa even pointed out, "Look at my shin. I'm kicking the guy and getting hurt off of kicking him. It's supposed to the opposite is supposed to happen, and we know that happens. We all saw UFC 261, but with what happened with Weidman and Uriah Hall, but." He sent a message by beating a guy like Burgos. He sent a message to the featherweight division that it's absolutely going to be. I didn't think it was going to be a third round knockout the way that it was, but I mean, he still sends a message that I can beat the good guys in this at the top level of this division, because this is a move down for him. He used to fight at lightweight, and But Burgos, man, that dude's. I mean, the thing about fights like that is like, as much as they have a chin, you always got to worry about like how well the chin is going to do when you keep losing. So Justin Gaethje is my favorite fighter, but I always worry about his later years when they fights the way that Burgos fought last night. But shout out to both of them, man. Great fight. I think they picked up a bonus. Yeah, fight of the night. Edson Barbosa, they picked up the bonus, and then performance of the night was Oliveira and Christos Gallegos, which is up at MMANews.com. So you want to check out them. 75K. Shout out to, again, Tony Ferguson. But let's get back to this list. I mean, I talked about Tony Ferguson, and I referenced the old eating the young. But the quote from the post-fight press conference that Dana White said was, "Time gets us all." And, it's true, man. Super true when it comes to the fight game. I doubt retirement talk is going to come out of Tony Ferguson. Not for nothing. I wish I had his energy. I mean, you know what I mean? The way he moves and stuff with his workouts. They were saying during the fight about fundamentals not being there and stuff like that. But I mean, you don't get a black belt from Eddie Bravo because you don't have fundamentals. He was going for stuff there. I think like Daniel Cormier, he's being a wrestler, but he's more of like a gi grappler. So like there's more to no gi grappling as far as like setting up stuff, and there was a lot that Tony Ferguson was going for. I'm just wondering when that heel hook happened, how much the pain of whatever happened to his leg distracted him from putting him into defense mode. There was an odd stat at the post-fight press conference. I forget who the guy that asked about Triller put that out. I'm sorry, I don't remember the outlet or his name that he worked for, but he had mentioned that between the last two fights or the last fight, Tony Ferguson's output with striking was only like 30 or something to that effect. You have to watch the post-fight press conference. The link is in this right here if you want to check it out. On the just the something about his output not being what it used to be. But I swear, I mean, one of the things I wrote on here was I would have loved to have seen the fight we never got, the cursed fight between Ferguson and Nurmagomedov. A prime Ferguson, all the times that it was supposed to happen, we had a prime Ferguson and prime Nurmagomedov. That probably would have been, something to behold. Fight of the year, fight of the decade, whatever you want to call it. I wonder what the fight of the decade is. That's a really good question. I wonder if the UFC would even put money into something like that. Maybe on Fight Pass, But Du Bronx and new lightweight champion. So this fight, I definitely noticed. I want to say there's too many highlights. I didn't want to make this a string of highlights, as I said, but excuse me. There's too many. There's a lot of things that I took out of this main. It was only 2 rounds, of course, and there was a lot of things I took out of that. But one of the takeaways, or a couple of takeaways, was at the opening round, as I recollect, Oliveira threw 2 calf kicks at Chandler. Chandler, because he explodes power into his opponents to get the knockouts that he's gotten. So he takes that wide stance because he's going to fire that right overhand right at whatever's in front of him. He puts his left leg out there. So as soon as I saw that, I commented, I put it on Twitter that he definitely watched tape and he definitely paid attention to the Brent Primus fight that happened out here in New York City, because that's how Chandler's leg got. I mean, that's what lost him the fight. He ultimately won the rematch, but it goes to show that Shootbox and Oliveira and his team did their homework. He represents Shootbox. When you look at Shootbox back in the day, the Wanderlei Silva who put Shootbox on the map and stuff like that, the name, it was like a brawling, everybody out of there was a brawler. Charles Oliveira is not a brawler. He's super, super technical jiu-jitsu. I mean, if we're passing titles and mantles of people they did a whole featurette on people with the most submission wins over at the UFC during the broadcast last night, and Hoist Gracie and all the guys with sub wins, Damian Maia. Oliveira is definitely that guy now. And then what was it, 14? Well, 14 in a row because he knocked out Chandler last night. And even with the thing that happened with Ferguson, they were saying if Ferguson tapped, it would have been 15 in a row. But the fact that he got the knockout over somebody like Chandler just shows not only is he great everywhere, obviously with the leg kicks and the left hook that ended the fight, but he showed that when faced with, because Chandler gave it to him. I mean, he was hurting him in the first round. Two judges scored it 10-8 for Chandler, and that weird judging. I didn't put that in the takeaways because I probably should have, but there was, again, a lot to take away. I always ask, what did you take away from the event? Of course, if you did anything that I missed out, please drop it in the comments below on the YouTube channel where this is going to live at the MMANews.com YouTube channel. But the Rosales guy gave a 10-9 round, but they all scored for Chandler in that first round. So, and that's with Chandler getting his back taken and Charles Oliveira locking in a body triangle. You want to know what's funny about that? Body triangle is a notoriously uncomfortable position for a lot of folks. And Chandler was in it for a long time. So the funny thing about that, it was in the post-fight press conference, Chandler says that he lets people take his back in training to kind of, his preparation, if you've never watched, I mean, I'm sure if you watched all the hype stuff for this, you see that the way Chandler trains for every fight it's unique to Michael Chandler. I mean, the dude is a machine when it comes to fight preparation. And so one of the things he said in the post-fight press conference was that he likes to let folks take his back so he can feel them or connect to them. I forget what the wording was, but I'm like, dude, I mean, listen, I'm an old man. So when I grapple, it's fairly easy to take my back. I work on my back defense because of it. I've been criticized because I'm a little too comfortable with folks because, again, I'm not getting hit. He's in a situation where he gets hit. And the fact that he was there for that long and excellent hand fighting, even Daniel Cormier was commenting on the hand fighting. And then his escape was he just exploded out of it. So he did roll to the side that you're supposed to roll to make it uncomfortable on the person doing the body triangles. They kind of ankle lock themselves when you put pressure on that side, the side where it's locked in. So he did that. And again, this is credit to Oliveira's grappling prowess too. He felt the pressure and was like, all right, let me let this man out of my body triangle because if he explodes into my ankle, he's just going to break my ankle or make me submit, for my own move. So it was just a great fight for both of them. But the first round, they both had their moments. Scored for Chandler because once he got out of that, he was raining fire on Oliveira, landed some really hard shots. I mean, if you look at Oliveira's face in his post-fight interview, where he talks about he says Oliveira admits that all the shots landed hurt him. There was a point where Chandler almost put him in a guillotine, and so Oliveira said that it was tight. He actually said if he was going to try to, he grinded out of it, but he even said, I wasn't going to tap it. He would have just had to put me out from it. So that says a lot about what to expect in the future of this lightweight division. I only have a few minutes left here, so I got to get a soapbox about the division, because one thing I have to say is, why are they throwing Justin Gaethje off to the side like he ain't shit in the lightweight division? The guy literally just fought the man that vacated the title, so he's still up there. And he even said that he thought he was getting ready to fight Michael Chandler, and then this fight happened. And now the post-fight press conference, they're asking, does the winner of Poirier and McGregor get a shot at the lightweight title? And Dana White's answer was, we'll see. You have this machine of a fighter in Justin Gaethje sitting on the sidelines and waiting to fight for the title, or one of these guys, Oliveira Chandler, he already fought Ferguson. And Ferguson, with his losses, he's probably getting further away from a fight of these contenders. And I hate to say that, but like you can't do this to Justin Gaethje. All right, so like, come on, like Justin Gaethje's right there. I mean, performance of the night, fight of the night, winner, win or lose. Justin Gaethje's right there. So get him a fight, God damn it. That's it. That's it for me. Again, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell notification for the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. Got to say that once again. Check out MMAnews.com for all of your MMA news, full coverage, results, bonuses, and stuff like that over at MMAnews.com for UFC 262. And if you like what I put out, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter. I always stream this on Twitter Live before it gets uploaded to the YouTube channel. So feel free to jump in, chime in. If you're ever around on a Sunday around brunch time, you can do that. And I'll see you next week. That's it for this Sunday submission. I'm tapping out. No breakage. See you next week.